Hello, this is Eric Draper. This is my Design Tools Week 4 Picha Kucha presentation. For it, I chose RoboCop, A Critical Analysis. It was cast by Peter Weller as RoboCop. Officer Lois was Nancy Allen. The old man was Dick O'Herlihy. Ronnie Cox played Dick Jones, and Kurtwood Smith played Clarence Boddicker. They were all perfectly cast in this, as it was a wonderful film, well more than the sum of its parts. My favorite location. It was set in old Detroit, but was actually filmed mostly in Dallas and a little bit in Houston. The old OCP, or the new OCP building, was actually the old Dallas City Hall, which obviously goes to show that we thought that futuristic Detroit looked like Dallas. Anyway, at the timeline of RoboCop, after the popularity of the first two RoboCops, we saw a lot of RoboCops come afterward. RoboCop 3 wasn't so good. There were countless TV shows. The four most notable were the Prime Directive series. You see them listed there. Prime Directives through Resurrection. Not really so popular. Most of the special effects were done by a Commodore Amiga 500, as you can see here. It was not too powerful, but they got by with what they had, and sometimes you got to do with what you got to do. So that's what they had to use. These laptops are much better. At the very beginning, when Murphy was dying, there was a real trauma team called in. They were called in because they figured the ad-libbing of the team would be much more realistic and sell much better in the actual movie than getting actual actors to come in and try to play a trauma team. It's a rather violent movie. There's 30 dead in the movie approximately, and countless people are wounded, maimed, thrown through windows, run over. You can imagine from there on. It is, like I said, everybody dies in pretty much any way, from getting run over to out of the window. RoboCop's prime directives are: number 1, serve the public trust, protect the innocent, and uphold the law. Number 4, we come to find out later, is actually RoboCop cannot arrest a senior member of OCP. This comes into play at the very last scene of the movie. Anyway, the first of the prime directives was serve the public trust. This, the director actually found in a fortune cookie, and he decided to apply it to the movie he was working on. So that is a little trivia fact that I found out and thought was interesting and wanted to pass on. Although the movie was not very much a blockbuster, it did cost a lot to get the suits up and running. There was approximately $500,000 to $1 million for the workable RoboCop suit, the one they filmed the most in. Though there was that one suit that they filmed the most in, there were countless, well, not really countless, quite a few suits that they actually had to use all the way through the movie. There were roughly 7 suits that were used throughout the course of the movie for different shots, different angles, and whatnot. Only one of these suits was actually fitted with safety precautions, any kind of fire retardation, whatnot, was installed in this one unit only, which is probably the $500,000 one. All of these parts put together made for a rather cumbersome costume for Peter Weller. He passed out a lot of the time, and although he was part man, part machine, all cop, he was still all human. After passing out quite a few times, he actually pushed for an air conditioning, and in the more expensive unit, they added an air conditioning to the suit so Peter would no longer asphyxiate and pass out on set, wasting valuable time. Clarence Boddicker's gang was known for their shotguns. Everybody had their own personality, and their shotguns varied thusly. All of the shotguns that were chosen in the movie were never the same one. There were always different variations, or different models, or different variations of the same model. So everybody had a different one, and no two were ever the same. At the very end, when Dick Jones, or Ronnie Cox, was knocked out of the window, it actually wasn't him. It was a puppet that took the fall out of the window. Looks very Sinbad, but that's thanks to the Commodore Amiga 500. There is a goofy quote in the credits that goes, "This motion picture is protected under the laws of the United States and other countries, and is unauthorized duplication, distribution, or exhibition may result in civil liability and criminal prosecution by enforcement droids." I thought that was weird and figured you might as well. RoboCop brought in, or actually cost about $13 million to produce. Like I said, there was almost $1 million of that was spent on the suit alone. It brought in $8 million the first weekend, which by today's standards is nothing, but over the course of everything, $53 million. When the movies came out on DVD, Richard Nixon was offered $25,000 to push for the commercial. He's seen here in the photo op as the Boy Scouts, although the movie was pretty violent. Iron Man actually has a cameo in the movie. He doesn't take as active a role as RoboCop does, but he actually watches from the safety of a comic shelf in the first scene, the first arrest, where RoboCop clotheslines a guy into the cooler. After RoboCop and the syndicated series, he became an international star, and his likeness was used all over. As you can see here, there's many places that are not American ads, and he became very popular across the world. That is